this new lecture about risks and performance target. The topic is very wide and complex, but within this presentation I tried to provide a comprehensive introduction. So today I will be going to provide you with an overview of the risk analysis in building renovation by introducing a general definition of risk, an insight on what is a risk management and how to set up a risk management plan, an overview of possible risks in building renovation, and some example on how to evaluate the risk from a qualitative and quantitative point of view. Please consider that the main contents of this lecture are also collected in the deliverable 4.1 Risk Assessment Guidance of the Horizon 2020 project for a Renew. The guidance has been developed by SINTEF with the contribution of the other project partners. So, for more information on the topic, I will leave you the references at the end of the lecture. So let's start with the definition of the risk. A risk can be defined as the effect of uncertainties on the objectives. So this definition is neutral and emphasizes that uncertainties can be positive or negative. Within this presentation, we will deal with events that cause negative effects. So, in general, the main approach for evaluating a risk is to consider it as the product of the probability and the impact of the risk. In fact, the event is characterized by a probability that can be large or small, and it will have an impact that again could be large or small. In case of building renovation, we can consider the probability as the possibility of occurrence at a certain event that can affect the renovation, and the impact as the consequence on the renovation, both on the renovation process and on the performances. In order to prevent the risk, any organization should adopt a risk management that in general needs to be integrated, so it should be part of the daily business and management activities. It should be objective, that means that should be defined based on reality than on perception. Adapted, so it should be adapted to the actual organization, considering the strategies, the business priorities, the resources and sector. And finally, it should be prospective, so projected towards the future instead of retrospective. A risk management always requires a risk classification that can be done in several ways. For example, this slide reports the method provided by Eise and Nordahl. They suggested a classification of possible events characterized by different level of uncertainties. This different kind of uncertainty can be treated in a different way. The highest level of uncertainty is named as the black swan, that is per definition unforeseeable, while the gray swan can be foreseen as event, but neither the probability nor the consequences are known. Such events are particularly critical for the risk analysis. Going ahead, there are risks where the probability distribution is unknown or where the probability distribution is stochastic, and finally, when it is deterministic. Another example of risk classification is based on the risk matrix that is built according to the probability and the impact associated to each identified risk. Here there is an example with 3 levels of severity and 3 levels of likelihood, so low, medium and high damage and low, medium and high probability. According to this classification, a risk could be considered as irrelevant, tolerable, moderate, effective, that means that can cause a significant effect on the renovation, and intolerable. Adopting a risk matrix means to assign to each risk the corresponding cell of this table. According to the previous classifications, for example, basing on the risk matrix, the risk management should include the strategies for dealing with the risk, and in particular, a possible approach can be structured in 4 levels, where the risk could be avoided, that means to adopt countermeasures to eliminate completely the risk, mitigated, that means reducing the impact or the probability of the risk, transferred, so to move the risk towards another stakeholder of the building renovation, for example, or to another building components, and accepted. And in this case, the strategies is to accept the risk and the relative impact in case of occurrence. So let's now have a look to the possible risks that can affect the building renovation. A first category is represented by economic risk, that represent one of the main barriers against a wider implementation of deep renovation in buildings. The economic risks can deal with the initial investments, so when the costs are higher than foreseen due to technical or other kind of problems, or they can be associated with the market value of the buildings before and after renovation. So here the main question is, will the building value will increase thanks to the renovation, and to which extent? And finally, the risk can deal with energy performance of buildings, and in particular when the energy savings are not in line with the foreseen ones. The energy performance gap is one of the most probable risks in a building renovation and can be connected to several factors. The actual savings after the renovation can be lower than expected because of, for example, comfort gaps. That means that keeping proper comfort levels requires a higher amount of energy than expected. Another issue can be connected with wrong assumptions in terms of boundary conditions for the assessment of the energy performances before and after renovation. Another reason of the energy performance gap is related to technical issues that can be problems of installation or reduced efficiency of the building components used for the renovation. And finally, the user behavior, occurring when the building after renovation is not used properly by the occupants. An example is represented by the set point temperature after the renovation, that is usually higher than before the renovation. Another category of risks that can affect a building renovation is related to the societal risks, that can include the legal context, the relation with the users, and the building ownership. Concerning the first issues, the risks are connected with existing constraints, for example, technical and legal, that can affect the renovation. That can be connected also with difficulties in collecting the needed permits for the interventions and for setting up the construction site. Or they can be connected with the possibility that legal rights of different stakeholders may delay or block processes. And finally, by the tender procedures that are usually affected by a lot of uncertainties in terms of timing and results. The other societal risks deal with the relation with the users and the building ownership. In the first case, the risk is connected with the communication between owners and tenants and with behavioral and vulnerability issues of the occupants. The building ownership can also represent a risk for the renovation, and in particular for the decision-making process, since, for example, the joint ownership can slow down the renovation in general or can prevent some interventions. Last 2 slides, I will be leaving you two useful references for a qualitative and a quantitative risk evaluation. The first one is provided by the Horizon 2020 project for ReNew, and here is reported an example for the prefabricated facade element, with a list of possible events, the related outcomes, and the foreseen countermeasures when installing a prefabricated facade element. The table is structured with 3 levels of severity, and the risk is associated to high concern, where it is important to take precautions, medium concern, here a careful monitoring is needed and the precaution should be taken if necessary, and low concern. The other reference that I would like to mention is the Horizon 2020 project Invest, that provides a quantitative approach for the evaluation of risks. The objectives of the project are to provide a structured framework for the risk evaluation in case of building renovation and to promote energy efficiency financing with a focus on commercial buildings. The project deals with the technical risks by introducing a structured framework for identifying the risks in case of energy renovation, by assessing the impact and by promoting mitigation measures. It also focuses on financial risk evaluation, and it is currently defining an approach to convert the technical risks into economic indicators. The third aspect is the technical and financial due diligence, and in this regard, the project will promote a standardized framework to evaluate energy efficiency investments for building renovation. The key results will be included in the investment evaluation platform and benchmarking tools that will be released within the project. So really the project website is a very good reference on the topic, and I kindly invite you to visit it. That's all for the lecture about risks and performance target, and I would like to thank you for your kind attention.